How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today I'm giving you the ultimate guide to the best neighborhoods in all of Denver, Colorado, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Evertson. Listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons to moving to or around Denver, Colorado, then this is a channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon you see popping up on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And listen, as much as I try to be a little creative, maybe educational in these videos, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team of some of Denver's most talented realtors. So the number and email on your screen right now, know that I am always the person answering your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails, there when and if you need me. I feel like this is the part where I have to tell you I don't help people find jobs, but I got you otherwise. Now that we're done with that fun-filled stuff though, let's get to what we're here for, and that is the ultimate guide to the best neighborhoods in Denver, Colorado. All right, so as this is going to be a two-part video, I also wanted to make sure that we covered as much cool ground as possible. So within these communities, I tried to lump places that were close together. As an example, we're gonna start with two of my favorite areas in all of Denver, and that is the Highlands and Sloans Lake. First thing I got to be clear on is that there are people who are going to say it's not the Highlands and Sloans Lake, it's Highland and Sloan Lake, but we're not here for technicalities, and if you Google it, you'll see both of those terms used. So what do I like so much about these neighborhoods? Well, first, getting into the Highlands located just west of Denver, right across I-25, or walking, you can go over the Highland Bridge across the highway into it. And the Highlands to me is the quintessential urban suburban part of town. You have, again, we talk about all sorts of varieties of living spaces, condos, apartments, really cool townhomes built, new build, older homes, detached places, homes that have been around forever, scrapes that have been rebuilt. And within the communities of the Highlands, and you have the Highlands and then you have West Highlands, which are just on the other side of Sheridan as you make your way going west, is you have these different locations within this relatively small community filled with walkability, where you've got pockets of coffee shops, restaurants, bars, little shops to go to. So as an example, as you get closer to Denver, you might be in an area where along 15th and Central, you've got a lot of restaurants, and you've got Little Man Ice Cream, and you've got Linger, and just around the corner, you've got cool places like the Happy Camper and Avanti's. And then you've got other areas as you get farther west, you get to areas like 32nd and Lowell, where you have another strip of great restaurants. Little India is there. One of my favorite tequila bars, El Camino, great tacos, great margaritas. So just another pocket. And there are several of those within. And so to me, the Highlands gives this great balance of being in the suburbs. You don't have a downtown feel, but there's still a lot to do. And if you want to be downtown, you can be there in less than 10 minutes. And I have to correct myself from an earlier flub. I said West Highlands on the other side of Sheridan, meant to say the other side of Federal, my bad. But as you get into Sloans Lake and Edgewater, you've got another great community. You've got a great area along West Colfax that used to be the St. Anthony's Hospital. It is now where the lake house is. You've got a ton of bars and restaurants, apartments everywhere. And Sloans Lake, really the only modest body of water anywhere near Denver, right there, filled with people. On any summer day, you're gonna see people out and about enjoying themselves. And again, Sloans Lake and Edgewater being separate as far as the community names themselves, but anybody who lives in that area would call it Sloans Lake. So along that Edgewater strip, along 25th, you've got the town center of Edgewater, if you would, filled again with that walkability. Great places to visit, including Joyride Brewery, one of my absolute favorite spots in all of Denver. And I mean, I have to admit that I'm a homer to that. I lived in Sloans Lake for my first 10 years, coming back to Denver, actually a little more than 10 years, still a favorite. And if I am going out on any given night, there is a chance, a good chance, that one of the destinations that I'm looking at is either in the Highlands or in Sloans Lake. The second area of Denver that you're gonna check out without a doubt is RiNo, AKA 5 Points, and I'm gonna tie that in with Lower Downtown. Again, not the same communities, but very close together, one kind of flowing into the other. So RiNo is one of the more interesting communities within Denver. You see a lot of new construction out there. You've got a great art district that people wanna get out to and hang out within, filled with, again, restaurants, bars, shops, things to do. Along the Larimer corridor, you have blocks and blocks of different things to do and different places to explore. And RiNo has a variety of, again, living scenarios. And I'm a big fan of that. We're going to talk about that comparison between RiNo and LoDo. But within RiNo, and again, locals, we will call it 5 Points. But you have, whether you have your apartments, your townhomes, your condos, but you also have a lot of detached homes to choose from. And if you're gonna visit RiNo, you have to check out the Crush Walls Art Festival, one of my favorite things to go look at. And there's days where they will block off parts of Larimer, they'll block off parts of these busy streets and just have artists coming out doing all sorts of stuff while you get some cold drinks, some cold adult beverages, if you will, and also get plenty of food. And RiNo is also, in my opinion, I don't think it's just my opinion, a hub of some very good restaurants that tend to pop up. It's a great place to go eat. Certainly one of those places. I mentioned I like Sloans Lake and the Highlands, but we will also spend a lot of time in RiNo when it comes to getting food. And then not too far from RiNo, right up the road as we get into the heart of Denver, you have the oldest, the most historic part of Denver that there is, at least as far as the city itself, and that is Lower Downtown, aka LoDo. And when we talk about Denver, LoDo is where the city really started to see its first big growth. And the key to that growth was, without question, the development and building of Coors Field, where the Colorado Rockies play. Once that ballpark opened and once things started to be built around it, that was kind of the epicenter of Denver for a good period of time. It was the first area, as far back as I can remember, and this is fact, not opinion, that was where, if you were going downtown, where you were going. That's where all the restaurants and bars and things to do were, along with Coors Field. Now, as that has grown, there is a lot more in Lower Downtown. You have Coors Field still. You have the Pepsi Center, or Ball Arena. I got to correct myself. It was the Pepsi Center for the longest time. Now Ball Arena, where the Denver Nuggets play and the Colorado Avalanche play. And so within that strip, it is filled with just, again, a ton of restaurants, a ton of shops, a ton of bars, and plenty of apartments, condos, things of that nature. Now, within Lower Downtown, you are not going to find detached homes of any sort. You're not going to find really townhomes of any sort. It is a condo and apartment filled area. You're also going to find a lot of industrial buildings or old warehouse type buildings that were then chopped up and made into these apartments. So a lot of places, I like kind of the history of it, where your walls of the apartment are concrete, and the pipes are exposed, things of that nature. Some very cool places to live down there. And LoDo also rolls over into areas of Union Station, a ton to do there. So between RiNo and between LoDo, those are going to be your primary downtown living locations where you're in the heart of the city. And our final communities to discuss today, number 3, we've got Uptown and Cap Hill, or Cap Hill and Uptown. Two very cool communities, separated only by Colfax Avenue. So Cap Hill is just on the south side of Colfax. So it's bordered by Broadway on the west, Downing on the east, and 7th Avenue to the south. And Cap Hill, a great neighborhood for a lot of reasons. Again, kind of being in the heart of the city, where you're not downtown, but you're right on the edge. A lot of the homes, or a lot of the housing that you're going to find in that area, are going to be apartments and condos. And you're going to see these great historic mansions that were built back at the beginning of the century. And a lot of these mansions, a lot of these detached homes, have now been split and cut into apartments. So you'll have 3, 4 plus units within these homes. And Cap Hill is really an area that reminds me of my years living on the East Coast. It's how the neighborhoods feel. And because you're right in town, you're close to things like Cheeseman Park and City Park, Cheeseman being a lot closer to you. And so you'll see a lot of people out and about doing things, great community feel, great city feel to it. And we mentioned you're right close to Broadway, so you can get down. Broadway is filled with a lot of bars, restaurants, shops to go and visit. And being right there next to the Capitol, you're right there next to Civic Park. So just a really cool area to check out, and a place that without a doubt is packed with young professionals. And then you flip right over to the north side, of Colfax Avenue, and you get into Uptown. Now, Uptown, I'm going to tell you, I love for a variety of reasons, but two of my favorite are 17th Avenue and 19th Avenue. So these two streets, obviously just a couple blocks from each other, are two of the most walkable, fun streets to stroll along. I don't know which word I'm trying to use in the Denver community. So along 17th, you've got places like Ace, where you can go and play some table tennis. You walk right down the street to Park & Co, where you can grab a great whiskey. So some great spots there. And then over on 19th, I just love the builds over there. I love the townhomes. I love the structures that they've created. And along 19th, you've got really a strip of coffee shops, restaurants, and different bars where you can spend an entire day. You can get up, go to a coffee shop, work for a while, grab some lunch, go to a different coffee shop, do some more work if you want, and then grab dinner. You really have everything right there. And Uptown is right on the edge of downtown. So, when you're walking out and about, you're still in the skyscrapers, right? You get across Colfax into Cap Hill, obviously downtown is right there. I mean, you can see it, you can spit on it if you will, but you just have that, you're a little distant, whereas Uptown, you feel like you're in the city. And I think both of these communities really have a lot of history to them. You really see how Denver was formed. Uptown is going to put you, we talked about Cap Hill, very convenient to get over to Cheeseman Park. Uptown, obviously you can get to Cheeseman Park pretty quick, but you're also very close to City Park. So these great amenities and these great historic parks, a lot of history to see, a lot of homes that were built. There was a ton of money during a silver rush, not a gold rush, a silver rush that occurred in Denver. So a lot of money was poured into these communities in these old historic buildings. We talk about those mansions at the turn of the century and how those have been converted. So just great areas. And again, certainly a hot button area for people, a hot spot for people moving to the area, and as I mentioned before, a ton of young professionals. But that is only roughly 6, 7 if you want to count Edgewater. Amazing communities within Denver. We still got a part 2. It's going to come to you next week. In the meantime, if you want to get a head start on them, that's a perfect time to give me a call, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. We can discuss them ahead of time and cover any of these. So that number and email popping up on your screen, know that I'm always the person. Answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails. There when and if you need me. That was Destination Denver, Colorado. This was the ultimate guide to the best neighborhoods in Denver, Colorado. Until I see you next time, peace.